Okay, we are live with the indictments and the arrests of the correction officers responsible for murder of Robert Brooks. Here we are live in the courtroom.
All right, so folks, to begin, welcome to United County Court. I know today's proceedings have garnered a lot of interest. You are all welcome to be here. This is a public courtroom. However, you can forfeit your right to be here by your conduct. This will be the only warning I'll give, that no outbursts or disturbances of any kind will be tolerated. With that, we'll proceed. First case, please. Is it Mr. Safranco? Yes, Your Honor. All right, so counsel, at the outset, I'll note that I have a number of requests from the media. Does either side have any objection to audio, visual, and photographic coverage of today's proceedings? Prosecution? How about you, Mr. Safranco? All right, the court will permit the same.
Ed, interesting. I didn't think we were going to get to see inside the courtroom. This is a bonus for us to actually hear the legal proceedings.
Yeah, we may be listening to bond applications and bail and everything.
Yeah, this is fascinating for us to get an inside look. I don't know what just happened to this live feed, but we're going to stick with it. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you share it. Let us know what your thoughts are. These are the indictments being unsealed. And while they unseal these indictments, the arrests will be happening for the defendants in the case. Again, we don't hear the audio.
Yeah, they muted it. Our good friend Billy Ryan is here. Hi, Billy.
Good to see you, Brother Bill. Thank you for joining. Thank you to everybody for being here. Here we go. Audio back. That's Officer Anzalone, former Officer Anzalone at the podium. Anzalone was the officer with the hat backwards that was beating Robert Brooks on the table, hitting him with his own shoe. Ed, you remember?
Is the judge talking to him now?
Yeah, the audio's low.
Got to put it up. I think he's giving him his charges.
My intention at this time, Mr. Safranco, to adjourn the matter to this point toward the end of March. like to give you some time to review the discovery materials that I imagine have been or will be supplied to you shortly, and then have a pre-trial conference to discuss scheduling of motions and things of that nature. March 31st, 9:30 a.m.
One that came was redacted from the custody. I'm also handing him over standard pretrial notices. But I included an IAP notice, even though there was no formal identification procedures here. The ID notice is self-explanatory. It has to do with people who testified in front of the grand jury, videotape. This is all indicated that this person. Don't know that it will be subject to hearing and all that. So I can take care of that.
Understood. Thank you. All right, and with that, did either side want to be heard on the question of bail? Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Cash is $250,000 bond.
Oh, okay. Mr. Fitzpatrick, we're having some difficulty hearing you. I'm going to ask you if you'd use the podium that has a microphone available to you.
Okay, this
We'll
is
get that
better.
over closer to you.
Much better. Looks like they were talking about bail. And
Mr. Franco, did you want to be heard on that topic? Bail on plaintiff as well surrender himself in this area could be bail himself from constant office, not have a valid passport when he gets surrendered, not that office, jurisdiction is all intentions of being in court every time it's surrendered. You would ask you to set the bail as requested by you. All right, the court has considered the statutory factors, and I do take particular note of the reality that if the defendant were convicted of the top count contained in this indictment, he faces a sentence of as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Accordingly, bail is set in the following amounts. That is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. Do I understand correctly, Mr. Sifranco, you have a bondsman available?
looks like he's got a bail bondsman, Ed.
Yep.
Mr. Bernardo, if you have that paperwork complete, I will review the same.
Did you hear the woman in the audience go, huh?
Yeah.
Looks like this scumbag's going to get bonded out. It's not right. Apologize for the audio, folks. We have no control over that. He's got handcuffs on, as you can see here. He's got cuffs.
Yeah. Front cuff. I think I heard him say that he didn't have a passport.
Yeah.
Officer, would you do me a favor and pass that over to Mr. Sifranco as well?
There should be no bail. Absolutely, Beamer. I believe you are correct. It should be no bail. This is despicable. This man stands accused of murder in the second degree, the highest charge that you could get charged
Yes,
with.
you may.
This scumbag doesn't deserve to be walking free. His next court date is 3/31 of 25.
That's March 31st this year.
Yep. March 31st, 2025 is what I heard. And the audio was really tough. I had to put my second earbud in to hear it. There's supposed to be a press conference by the District Attorney Fitzpatrick where hopefully he'll answer some of these questions. But it's my understanding that there's going to be 5 first-degree murder charges here and 2 or 3 manslaughter charges.
All right. And
Second degree murder.
Is
Right, second degree.
Bernardo. Mr. Bernardo, you swear the truth of the content of your bail undertaking an affidavit. Is that correct? Thank you.
People are not
Mr.
happy.
Anzalone, confirm for me you signed the bail undertaking here as well? Yes. All right. And Mr. Anzalone, I have before me now a proposed bail bond in the amount of $250,000, and I understand you're asking to be released upon this bond. Do I have that right? Yes. You understand what your number one obligation is under this bond? Yes. What is that? Court. Exactly, return to court. Some things I want to make sure you understand. First, you do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case, but if for some reason you did not come back to court as required, then a warrant would be issued for your arrest. The bail that you're posting by way of this bond, that would be forfeited and lost. You would then face a new felony charge, and that's known as bail jumping. Your case could then proceed in your absence. That means you could be tried in your absence, and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand? Yes. I have received now a document entitled Parker Warning, outlining the warnings that I just gave you in writing. You signed this document here as well after reviewing it with your attorney. Is that right? Yes. Court is signing and approving the bail bond.
This is disgusting.
Transport gentleman can have that. Mr. Anzalone, you're due back in this court March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference with your attorney. I will see you back here then. Anything further from either side? All set.
He's got the belt clip too.
So essentially, you can commit murder on video and get bailed out. I don't blame people for being pissed off. And, you know, Ed, this is an abomination. This is a travesty of justice.
Ron, he looks like he's shackled too. I wholeheartedly agree. But he looks like he was shackled too.
Yeah, because he got processed. He got fingerprinted, handcuffed with a new arrest.
Right, but he's shackled at his ankles.
Yes, and he should be.
Yeah.
Let's see who's next. What animal is next? What savage is next? We know Farina's going to be in here. No bail.
Who is that for?
Let's listen.
Pastelacqua, you're representing David Walters? Yes, Your Honor. All right, so I do have a number of requests from the news media to cover today's proceedings by audio, visual coverage, as well as still photography. Do you have any objection? No, Your Honor. Fitzpatrick, no objection. The court will permit the same.
This is for David Walters.
Yes.
Look at this comment, Ed.
Yeah. Murder 1, terrorism. Murder 2.
I know if you and I committed murder second degree, we would not be out on bail. That's a fact.
Understood, Your Honor.
Was he charged with murder 2, the last defendant, or was it manslaughter?
Anzalone, murder second degree.
Okay. All right, but this client, the lawyer's client is in, right? No bail.
It said no bail.
Mhm.
I don't even know who David Walters is. I don't think he's part of the name, but we'll get into it. Thank you to everybody for being here.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Mr. Starzewski, any objection to the media coverage here today?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Fitzpatrick, can I assume you have a continuing no objection? All right, very good. The court will permit the same.
Nancy, we agree.
Who's paying for these attorneys?
Unbelievable, Ed.
Sean.
They said 100,000 cash bail for the first client, but he had a bail bondsman. All right, this is a live feed inside the courtroom.
It was 100,000 in cash that he had to put up in 250 surety bond.
Thank you. I wrote it down. This is Judge Robert Bauer. Robert Bauer is the judge.
Yeah, do you have Farina?
There's
Take
Farina.
Farina, please.
Get that scumbag out here now.
So he's representing Farina.
Farina. This is the attorney for Farina. This is the guy who we witnessed come out to Sean at his car and ask him if he was lost. And then he said, his son said, Robert Brooks was beat up at Mohawk. My father didn't do anything. Well, your father is now charged with murder in the second degree. Bring this scumbag out. There we go. Handcuffed, shackled.
This is the matter of the people against Anthony Farina, indictment 25035, on for arraignment today. I've received correspondence from a James Riotto that he's been retained in this matter. Are you?
Yes, Judge, I'm here of counsel.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Starzewski. All right, and that's your name, sir, Anthony Farina? How old are you, Mr. Farina?
49.
Mr. Farina, you are here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you, so you have to be arraigned upon that. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Farina, in indictment 2025-35, you have been indicted by an Oneida County grand jury charged with various crimes, the top count of which is murder in the second degree. And counsel, I'd ask if you waive a formal reading of the indictment.
Waive a reading and enter plea not guilty to all charges.
Not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf.
This time, Judge, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the indictment, again with the admonition that one name has been redacted because that individual is not in custody. I'm also providing our standard pretrial notices along with the disc concerning certain statements made by Mr. Farina, and ask if you acknowledge receipt.
Acknowledge receipt, Your Honor.
All right. What I'm going to do, Mr. Starzewski, is adjourn the matter to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference to give you some time to review the discovery materials. At that time, I can set up a motion schedule for you as well. Will that be you or Mr. Riotto at that time?
Probably Mr. Riotto.
Very good. All right. And with respect to the topic of bail, Mr. Fitzpatrick?
I would
He's going to
ask,
get
Your
bail.
Honor, bail consistent with what you said on Mr. Anzalone.
Mr. Starzewski, your thoughts?
Pardon.
All right, the court's considered the statutory factors and taking particular note of the fact that the defendant, if convicted of the top count, could face a sentence of as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Bail is set in the following amounts. That is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit.
Unbelievable.
Officer, if you please pass this over. Mr. Starzewski, I'm going to have you provided with a Parker warning to review with your client.
Thank you.
Why is the prosecutor allowing this?
This is disgusting. Same thing for Anzalone is provided to Farina. This is the guy who we saw take his leg and put it in Robert Brooks's groin, punch him in the
Mr.
face.
Farina, you do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case, but if for some reason you posted bail and then did not come back to court as required for your arrest, the posted bail will be forfeited and lost. You may then face a new felony charge known as bail jumping, and the case may proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence, and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand that? I've received this document entitled Parker Warning, which outlines in writing the warnings that I just gave you. Confirm for me you signed this document after reviewing it here with your attorney today. Thank you. All right, bail is set in the amount so indicated. The defendant's to return to court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m.
This is despicable.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Despicable.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd ask that defendant surrender his passport to counsel, and counsel advise me of when it has been surrendered, and suggest a week to do that.
We'll make that happen.
Very good. If you please notify the court when that's complete.
I will.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If he has a New York State enhanced driver's license, he doesn't need a passport to cross the border into Canada.
Yeah, everything should be seized from this guy, and he shouldn't be getting bail. This is a travesty of justice. And I see Conservative Felon is in the chat. Thank you for being here. Good to see you, Joe. I feel physically sick right now. I don't know how you guys feel in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking here. This is America. And if you commit murder on video, you should not be afforded bail, or the bail should be extremely astronomically high, because these guys are flight risks. Ed, they could be in the wind, down into the Mexican border. They could go anywhere. This is just ridiculous. I am disgusted. Let us know in the chat what you think. I feel physically ill right now. This is Sergeant Gallagher.
You know, gangbangers on the street wouldn't get this kind of leniency.
I stand corrected. Former correction officer Gallagher. This is not a sergeant. This is another correction officer who was in the room while Robert Brooks was murdered, beaten to death on video. This Oneida County Courthouse is a joke. Oh, there's
Mr. Louisbrand, is it?
That's Sean. That's
Mr. Louisbrand, I have a number of media requests here for audio, video coverage, and still photography. Do you have any
that's
objection?
Long Island Audit
No
right
objection.
there, holding his
Permit
phone
the
up.
same.
Right here. This is Sean, and there is J.B. Nichols. Wow. He's getting some good video right there. Yeah, this is C.O. Gallagher, former C.O. Gallagher.
The matter of the people against Matthew Gallagher, indictment 25035, on for arraignment today. I understand, Mr. Louisbrand, you've been retained to represent Matthew Gallagher. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's your name, sir, Matthew Gallagher?
Yes.
How old are you, Mr. Gallagher?
43.
Mr. Gallagher, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County has returned an indictment against you. You must be arraigned upon that indictment. Counsel, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gallagher, an indictment 2025-35 in the Oneida County Grand Jury has charged you with various crimes, the top count of which is murder in the second degree. And I'd ask counsel if you waive a further reading of the indictment.
Yes, we do, Your Honor. We enter a plea of not guilty and waive reading of the indictment. A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf.
This time, Judge, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the indictment with one name redacted, along with our standard pretrial notices, including a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Gallagher, and ask you to acknowledge receipt of those.
Thank you. The documents and I acknowledge receipt.
All right, in that case, it's the court's intention to adjourn the matter to the morning of March 31st, 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference. I'll give you time between now and then to review the discovery materials and set a motion schedule at that next appearance.
Same thing.
With respect to bail, what's the position of the people?
Your Honor, we recommend bail consistent with what you said on Mr. Anzalone and Mr. Farina.
Gross.
I would have liked to see a fly on the wall between prosecutor and how they can get this
Mr.
bail.
Gallagher is a lifetime resident of the area. He has family local, 2 young children and a wife.
He doesn't have the
he's
bail.
worked throughout the area. He has no criminal record whatsoever, Your Honor.
All right, the court's considered the arguments of counsel and the statutory factors, and noting that the defendant could face a sentence of as much as 25 years to life in state prison if convicted after a trial of this matter. Bail is set in the following amounts: $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. Mr. Gallagher, in a position to post that bond today, or did you need to schedule that?
He's prepared. Mr. Bernardo has agreed to provide the bond for us
Yeah,
on behalf
bail
of Mr.
bondsman.
Gallagher.
They got a local boy, local bail bondsman.
That's that union.
You hear the people in the audience.
You can
This is
review
the-
that with your client while I look over the bond paperwork, please.
This is the Brooks family, and rightfully so. I can't even believe, I mean, I commend them for
That's that
remaining
union
as,
money. Niggas ain't got that kind of money, man.
yeah, this is gonna get ugly, Ed.
Yeah, like I said earlier, if there was a street street gang beat down on tape
Catch
like
and
this,
release.
and they were charged with murder too, they would not be getting bail or bond.
There's Sean from Long Island Audit, right here.
All right. Before me now is Bondsman Jay
Any-
Bernardo. Mr. Bernardo, you swear the truth, the content of your bail affidavit and undertaking?
I'm glad he's recording.
Mr. Gallagher signed the same.
How do you live with yourself? How do you tell your kids this? Your kids gotta watch this. You probably don't even let them watch it.
Somebody's close to the mic and they're picking up good conversation.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm listening.
But you tell your kid,
Helpless, innocent black men in prison.
Yeah, he said he beat a black man in prison. Now he's going to get bail.
yeah, a helpless,
All right, so Mr. Gallagher, I have before me now a proposed bail bond in the amount of $250,000. I understand you're asking to be released upon this. Is that right? You understand what your number one obligation is under this bond? Exactly right. You do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. But if you do not come back to court as required, then a warrant will be issued for your arrest. The bail you're posting by way of this bond will be forfeited and lost, and you'll then face a new felony charge, and that's known as bail jumping. Your case may then proceed in your absence. That means you could be tried in your absence and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. Do you understand that? Now, the warnings I just gave you were just provided to you in written form by way of this document entitled Parker Warning. I'm holding the same up for you. Confirm for me that you did sign this document here after you reviewed it with your attorney. We're just signing and approving the bail bond. You're released on the bond today. You're due back in this court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Despicable.
All set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so far that's three second degree murder charges, all getting $100,000 cash bail. Represented by a bail bondsman, probably a local boy.
At least it ain't manslaughter.
And again, shout out right here to Sean from Long Island Audit. He's going to probably have some great uploaded video. He's right in the first row, next to JB Nichols from the local news up there. Yeah, I mean, listen, let us know in the chat if you're disgusted with this by putting a 1 in the chat. Put a number 2 if you're not surprised. And I would have to put a 1 and a 2. Disgusting. I got to put 1 and 2. I just thought that they would have some decency here for the family of this murdered man, Robert Brooks, on video. The district attorney could have argued for higher bail. He didn't even argue it. He just said, okay.
All right.
yeah, so there, that's because there was negotiations back at his office.
I'm livid right now. I actually feel like I feel like I got 110 temperature right now. I'm ready to explode. Lucy, amen. So disgusting.
I thought with that video that the DA could have made an argument here to keep them in.
Yeah. We didn't even hear an argument. This is a slap in the face to all Americans. This could be any one of us.
Well, one person didn't get bail. Why was that?
Probably couldn't afford the bail bondsmen don't do it for free, Ed. You have
Right.
to put something
No,
up.
but he said, is it because he couldn't get it or because the district attorney wouldn't agree to it?
Well, we've only heard three so far, or 4 actually. Anzalone,
4.
Finina, Walters, and Gallagher. We still have
One of those 4 didn't get bond.
right. We'll play it back. We'll replay back. The audio was horrible in the beginning, and it still is. NBC 10 is playing it, and I'm afraid to switch because we have a thing here. Okay, we have two more, she said. She might be representing two. This is a criminal defense attorney.
Again, who's paying for these defense attorneys? Is it their union? Is it themselves? Is it the state?
I mean, they are not employed by the state anymore, but I don't know. I don't know how this works with that collective bargaining agreement. You know, we heard Letitia James recuse herself because she was representing Farina in prior criminal charges that were levied against him from other inmates and him beating other inmates. I don't know. I don't know how this goes. We're going to look into it. But we're looking at the live look at the court. There's a little sidebar going on between the criminal defense attorney and the Onondaga County District Attorney, Mr. Fitzpatrick. They have a sidebar. We can't hear it. But, you know, Robert Brooks' family, folks, is in this courtroom. Robert Brooks' family is inside this courtroom, and they are despicable. I mean, these people are despicable for what they're doing to them, and they're livid. They're angry. They're upset, and they have every right to be. This is not justice. This is not justice that it took 70 days for this process to happen. And then to add insult to injury, Ed, after 70 days, they watch these people walk out of the courtroom. How the F is that justice? How is it justice? Somebody please make this make sense to me. This is unbelievable.
So what's the issue that they had to go before the judge?
Yeah, I don't know. It's still not resolved.
Wallrath or Fisher, you're both on.
Christopher Wallrath.
What did they say? Christopher Rollins? I couldn't make that out.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it started with a W.
All right, here comes the defendant. SJ, we're with you on that. She says, what the hell? They need to sit in jail and wait for the murder trial, just like the disgusting officers who killed George Floyd. All right, let's listen in. Amen, sister. Shackled, handcuffed.
I don't know about the shackle, but he's definitely handcuffed. Nope,
Yeah,
no
I thought I saw leg irons on the bottom.
Nope. He may have a
Ms.
monitor.
Hartwell, I do have a number of requests from news media for audio and video coverage of today's proceedings, as well as still photography. Do you have any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will permit the same. Sir, your name is Christopher Wallrath?
Christopher Wallace. Okay.
So, Mr. Wallrath, you're charged under indictment 25035 with the felony offenses of murder in the second degree as well as manslaughter in the first degree. On these charges, you're entitled to the assistance of counsel at this and all stages of proceedings. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you at no cost to you. Ms. Hartwell here is with the Public Defender's Office. If you qualify for her services and you like, I can assign her to represent you. Is that your wish?
Yes.
Do you at least preliminarily qualify, Ms. Hartwell?
Yes, Your Honor, he does.
All right. And at this time, Ms. Hartwell and her office will be assigned to represent you. I'll just note, Mr. Wallrath, that is subject to your it being verified that you are financially eligible for assignment of the Public Defender's Office and that we do not have a conflict of counsel develop as the case moves forward. I just want to make sure you understand that. With that, you're here today to be arraigned on indictment 25035. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Mr. Wallace, in indictment 2025-35, we've been charged by an Oneida County grand jury with various crimes, the top count of which is murder in the second degree. Counsel asks if you waive a formal reading of the indictment.
I will. Yes, thank you.
This time, Your Honor, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the indictment with one name redacted because that person is not yet in custody, along with our standard pretrial notices, and ask if you acknowledge receipt of that.
Somebody,
I wonder who's holding out. Is not yet in custody. Supposed to turn himself in today, whoever that is.
Do I
Yeah.
acknowledge receipt, Your Honor?
did he
And
upscan?
enter a plea.
Yes, Your Honor, we enter a plea of not guilty.
A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. I'm going to adjourn the case to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference and to set a motion schedule.
So here you got a
Respect
public,
to the topic of bail. What's the position of the people?
We would ask for bail to be set consistent with that of Mr. Anzalone, Mr. Finina, and Mr. Gallagher, Your Honor.
Unbelievable.
Your thoughts?
Your Honor, with regard to that, I'm just only asking the court to consider the reasonable bail based on the information that the court has received, as well as the fact that my client is a lifelong resident here in the area of New York State, and I do not believe is a flight risk.
Officer, would you mind passing this over to Ms. Hartwell, please? Court has considered the arguments of counsel as well as the statutory factors, taking particular note of the reality that if the defendant were convicted of the top count contained in the indictment, he could face as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Bail is set in the following amounts. That is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. Now, Mr. Wallrath, if you do make bail and you're released while these charges are pending, you do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. If you do not come back to court when required, then a warrant will be issued for your arrest. The bail posted would be forfeited and lost. You would then face a new felony charge that's known as bail jumping. And the case may proceed in your absence, meaning you can be tried in your absence and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand?
Yes.
There's a document in writing to that effect of the warnings I just gave you. Please take a moment to review the same with your attorney, and then you may sign.
I don't think he has bail.
Good. Fuck him.
He's got a public defense, so obviously he can't afford his own attorney.
Let him rot. Remand.
For the record, the defendant has executed the original of the court's written Parker warning. The matter is adjourned now to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I would ask the court ordered defendant to surrender his passport to counsel and that she advise the court and special prosecutor when that's done.
All right. Understood. Thank you.
Like I said, if he has a New York enhanced driver's license, he can cross the border with that. He doesn't need a passport. If he's in possession of that, that should be seized as well. With that card, that driver's license, he can cross the Mexican border without a passport or go to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Thank you. He's all set.
Family, friends.
I don't think he has bail. There was no bondsman there to bond him out.
Yeah.
I better pay the bill and a couple of things. Pay for the term. Get me out. I'm not guaranteed he gonna survive.
Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, we are as disgusted as you guys all are in the chat. And, you know, we're watching this live with you. And I'm not sure if I didn't hear anybody say remand. But we didn't hear him confirm that he had bail. So
I don't think
sure.
arrangements yet because there was no bondsman there. Like the others had bondsmen that were there present and the judge questioned them.
Yeah, I think Wallrath is going to be a remand until he can get bail. But they all are getting the same thing, $100,000. So what? $10,000 is all they got to come up with. Oh, this looks like one of the sergeants.
That's a compliment.
Matter of the
So
people against Michael Fisher under indictment
No, Fisher.
25035 on for arraignment today. That's your name, sir, Michael Fisher? How old are you, Mr. Fisher? 54.
54. You still doing that dumb shit, bro?
Mr. Fisher, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You are charged with one count of the felony offense of manslaughter in the second degree.
Jesus.
On this charge, you're entitled to the assistance of counsel at this and all stages of proceedings. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you at no cost to you. Ms. Hartwell here is with the Public Defender's Office. If you qualify and you like, I can assign her to represent you. Is that your wish?
Yes, please.
He qualifies.
He does, Your Honor, preliminary qualifies for public defender services.
All right. So, Mr. Fisher, I'm assigning Ms. Hartwell today so you understand. Conditionally, that is that you're going to ultimately, after they give a further review of your finances, properly qualify for assignment of counsel. And then I'm going to have to look into whether or not a conflict exists and they need to assign you counsel. You understand? You can stand in for arraignment today.
Yeah.
Very good. And we'll proceed with the arraignment. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Fisher, in indictment 2025-35, you have been charged by an Oneida County grand jury with a single crime of manslaughter in the second degree. Counsel, I'd ask if you waive a formal reading of the indictment. Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the redacted indictment, redacted only with one name being removed, along with our standard pretrial notices, along with a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Fisher, and I'd ask if you acknowledge receipt of those items.
You should get murdered. For real.
Yeah, this is getting ugly, and I don't blame it for getting ugly. These people are sitting there, and this is humiliating. This is a travesty of justice. I keep saying it.
There's no conspiracy charges, none of that. But what happened to the conspiracy charges? The fuck?
A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. This matter will be adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference and setting a motion schedule.
Not one fucking conspiracy charge.
Fitzpatrick, did you want to be heard off topic of bail?
Yes, Your Honor. I would ask, we have the people, bail be set in the amount of $25,000 cash or
Oh, my God.
$100,000 bond. And I'd also ask, as with previous arraigned defendants, that Mr. Fisher surrender his passport to counsel and she advised the court and the special prosecutor of same.
Is there a passport to surrender?
No, he does not, Your Honor.
Ms. Hartwell, your thoughts on bail?
Your Honor, with regard to bail, again, I would ask the court to consider reasonable bail in this matter. I do see that Mr. Fisher is not charged with 2 counts, but only 1 count. And he is a lifelong resident of the state of New York, and he is not a flight risk. As I've just indicated, he does not have a passport. And I can assure that he will not be a flight risk, and I ask the court to consider bail slightly lower than what's been recommended.
The courts consider the arguments of counsel in noting that the defendant could be sentenced to as much as 5 to 15 years in state prison if convicted after a trial. Bail is set in the following amounts: that is $50,000 cash, $100,000 insurance company bail bond, or $500,000 partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. If I understand correctly, Mr. Bernardo is in a position to post a bond today. All right, when you have your paperwork ready, I'll review the same.
If this doesn't cause community unrest, I don't know what will. I'm just shocked here.
Sir, if you don't mind passing that over for me, thank you.
Hit the FEMA number.
I know.
Just gotta get the dollar amount in here, right? Oh, I know.
I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone right now. I feel like I'm on another planet.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
$25,000. So he's got to come up with $2,500.
Right, and he doesn't have a passport, and he's only being charged with the misdemeanor.
Well, manslaughter.
Mr. Bernardo, you swear the truth of the content of your bail affidavit and undertaking, is that correct? signature, please. Thank you.
Manslaughter second degree is a felony, I believe. Yeah, it is.
5 to 15 years, right? But I don't understand. That bill is way too low.
This was the guy who tapped the sergeant on the arm and told him to move while he was punching Robert Brooks, while he was handcuffed behind his back.
Did he secure a bond?
Yeah, this female attorney is smiling. She needs to just keep her smile from, she's like beaming. I don't know why.
All right, Mr. Fisher, I have before me a proposed bail bond in the amount of $100,000, and I understand you're asking to be released upon this. Is that correct?
He's got
Do
it.
you understand what your obligation is under this bond?
Yes.
What's that?
Show up or lose everything.
Exactly right. Yeah, you have to come to court or this bond will be forfeited.
Won't be a problem.
Very good. So I'm going to advise you of your warnings relative to that. You do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. If you do not come back to court when required, then a warrant will be issued for your arrest. The bail will be imposed by way of this bond here today. That would be forfeited and lost. You'd then face a new felony charge known as bail jumping, and the case could proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence and, if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand?
Yes, sir.
I've received a document entitled Parker Warning that outlines those warnings I just gave you in written form. Confirm for me you signed this document here after reviewing it with counsel today?
Yes.
Word is signing and approving the bail bond. Will be released on the bond here today. Mr. Fisher, you are due back in this court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m.
Disgusting.
So, thank you. Also, thank you.
I'm all conservative and
Judge, I'll check the progress of the others.
I'm surprised that they're letting them film inside the court. Like usually inside the courtroom, they tell you, you have to power down your cell phones. You can't record video, but they're allowing it, which is good. Anybody else taking notice of that? Long Island Audit in the first row, able to actually videotape on his cell phone, which I think is great. Usually they shut that down. So. I might try to switch to NBC 10, but I'm afraid to do this. I'm gonna try it. News 10 NBC. All right, I'm going to do a switch. I'm doing a switch. Give me a second. Hold on, guys. I'm doing a switch. Let's see if this is better. I think this might be better. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. I think this is a better feed. There was a little break in the action. I'm just trying to bring you the best that I can. Let me know in the chat if this is better. Thank you, Danny. I rely on user feedback, so thank you, guys. And thank you for Kristen, our producer behind the scenes, checking this out for me. I'm not feeling great today, Annette. I feel like crap. This is a travesty of justice, what we're witnessing here. All right, who's up next? What scumbag is next? And as we know, they're going to receive bail, whoever it is. This is unbelievable. Yes, this is DA Fitzpatrick right here. This is the defense attorney. That is Sean from Long Island Audit over on the left with his phone up. Here comes our next defendant. Handcuffed front. Short guy. I didn't see leg shackles, Ed.
This is matter of the people against Nicholas Gentile, indictment 25035 on for arraignment today. And counsel, it's Julie Nociolo, correct? You've been retained to represent Nicholas Gentile? That's your name, sir, Nicholas Gentile? Yes, sir. How old are you, Mr. Gentile? 36 years old. Mr. Gentile, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You have to be arraigned upon that. Counsel, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Gentile, an indictment 2025-35. An Oneida County grand jury has charged you in the 8th count of said indictment with tampering with physical evidence, violation of section 215.40, subdivision 2 of the penal law. And Ms. Nociolo, I ask him to waive a further reading of the indictment. Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to hand counsel a copy of the indictment redacted with one name missing, along with our pretrial notices and demands, etc. I ask you to acknowledge receipt of those items.
Acknowledge receipt, Your Honor.
And enter a plea?
Enter a plea of not guilty on my client's behalf.
A not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. The court will adjourn the matter to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference in the setting of a motion schedule. What are the people's thoughts with respect to the defendant's release status?
I believe this is a case where you can't set bail, so I leave it any conditions to the court's discretion.
All right. Do you want to be heard on that topic, Ms. Nociolo?
Briefly, Your Honor, with respect to any conditions, I agree obviously with the people. This is a non-qualifying offense. Mr. Gentile has been a lifelong member of this community, has a wife and 2 kids, has retained me as counsel, and we ask, therefore, that he be released on his own recognizance.
All right, the court consider the arguments of counsel and the bail statute being what it is at present. This does constitute a non-qualifying offense, such that bail may not be set on this particular charge. Mr. Gentile, that means I'm going to be releasing you on your own recognizance, which effectively means on your promise that you will return to court when required. Do you promise me you'll do so?
Yes, Your Honor.
Understand that if you were to break that promise and not come back to court as directed, then you're subject to having release on your own recognizance revoked, and that means you could then be committed to the jail with or without bail. So I'll be assured you do come to court when required. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to pass over a document entitled Parker Warning that outlines your obligations in that regard.
Ed, what's your thoughts on the tampering with physical evidence? Did he, hide evidence? Did he write reports and rip them up? Or what do you think is happening here with tampering with physical evidence? Can't hear you, Ed.
For the record, the defendant has executed the written Parker warning here in court. Mr. Gentile, keep in touch with your attorney. You're due back in this court on March 31st.
Ron.
Yeah. Thank you.
Got you now.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't in the studio for some reason. I don't know. He may have tampered with the reports. He may have tried to delete
some
videos.
footage. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is an offense that under New York state law is not bail eligible. In other words, they can't set bail on him under the law based on that charge.
All right, Ron, I got to run.
Okay, I'll talk to you later, Ed.
All right. So disgusted. So disgusted.
All right, thanks for being here, Ed. I appreciate it. I'm going to mute it for a minute. This has got all of our bloods boiling, and you know what? Rightfully so, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're watching right here. Is, I said it 10 times. It's a travesty of justice. What they are doing to Robert Brooks and his surviving family is beyond my belief. And a lot of people said they wouldn't even be charged with murder. I'm happy that we have these murder charges, but I'm so disgusted and disappointed that we see somebody take another person's life in their official capacity as a correction officer on video, and they are afforded bail. This is no good. This is not sitting good with me, folks. We'll go live back into the courtroom.
Coming up, thank you.
Kingsley.
Oh, the matter of the people against David Kingsley, indictment 25035. At the outset, Ms. Hartwell, do you have any objection to media coverage?
No, Your Honor.
Court will permit the same. And sir, that's your name, correct? David Kingsley? Yes. So, Mr. Kingsley, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County did return an indictment against you. You are charged with one count of the felony offense of murder in the second degree and one count of the felony offense of manslaughter in the first degree. These charges are entitled to the assistance of counsel at this and all stages of proceedings, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you at no cost to you. Ms. Hartwell, does he qualify?
Yes,
preliminarily?
Preliminary qualified for public defender services.
And with that in mind, Mr. Finelli, are you in a position to take an assignment? Yes.
How are these guys?
Why don't I have counsel approach, please?
How are these guys appointed public defenders when they have, $60,000 to $100,000 a year jobs? This is just unbelievable. So they're assigning a public defender free of charge to this guy. I just want to say the court officers are being very, you know, they're being lenient here, letting them voice their thoughts and opinions, but this is getting out of control.
Nobody cares. And I want to know what I do too. And we still got to pay our lives bill. We got the same shit you guys got. Y'all haven't wanted down before, but now you got the same down before now. Those none of us got equal black money. Nobody over here is stopping it all the time. We have a house in the
Mr. Kingsley, you are entitled to the assistance of counsel throughout these proceedings. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be assigned to you. Do you intend to retain counsel, or would you like counsel assigned? All right, and I understand, Ms. Hartwell, that you at least preliminarily qualifies. All right, in that case, Mr. Kingsley, I do have attorney Matthew Finelli here. I'm going to assign him at this time as your attorney for purposes of today's arraignment. That's a conditional assignment insofar as I understand the Public Defender's Office is going to complete their review of your financials to ensure that you are in fact eligible for assigned counsel. You understand that? All right, with that then I'll ask Mr. Finelli to step up and I'll thank Ms. Hartwell. Mr. Finelli, you're welcome to turn the microphone off and take a moment to confer with your client. Thank you very much. All right, so Mr. Kingsley, the reason for your appearance here today is because the grand jury returned an indictment against you, so you have to be arraigned upon that. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I apologize to the court, but I'd like to amend the indictment to reflect the correct spelling of Mr. Kingsley's name in the head note of the indictment, and in count 1 and count 2, Mr. Kingsley's name should be spelled Kingsley.
I see that a couple of letters were transposed. No objection, Mr. Finelli.
No objection, Your Honor.
Court will permit the amendment.
I got a correction on the spelling. It should be David Murderer, Murderer. Thank you.
The top count of which is murder in the second degree. And I'd ask Mr. Finelli if you waive a formal reading of the indictment.
I do waive it.
This time, Your Honor, I'm going to hand Mr. Finelli a copy of the redacted indictment with one name missing, along with our standard pretrial notices, as well as a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Kingsley, and ask you to acknowledge receipt of those items.
I acknowledge receipt. And enter a plea.
My client wishes to enter a plea of not guilty.
Not guilty plea is entered on the defendant's behalf. So that will be adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference and setting up a motion schedule. And did either side wish to be heard on the question of bail? Mr. Fitzpatrick.
I ask that bail be set consistent with Mr. Anzalone, Mr. Finina, Mr. Wallrath, Mr. Gallagher, and that Mr. Kingsley surrender his passport, if he has one, to Mr. Finelli at his earliest convenience.
Unbelievable.
And notify the court and special prosecutor when that is done.
Mr. Finelli, does your client have a passport?
Your Honor, I believe he does have a passport, correct? Do not have a passport, does not have a passport.
All right, and your thoughts on bail, Mr. Finelli?
Your Honor, I just ask you to take into consideration, it's my understanding that my client is a family man, he is a lifelong resident of Jefferson County. I would ask the court take those considerations when setting bail.
Courts considered the statutory factors as well as the positions of counsel here this morning, and I do take particular note of the fact that if convicted after a trial of the top count here, the defendant does face as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Accordingly, bail is set in the following amounts. That is $100,000 cash, $250,000 insurance company bail bond, or $1 million partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. We'll pass over a written Parker warning. Mr. Kingsley, some things to understand, sir. You do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case, but if you did not come back to court when required after posting bail, then a warrant would be issued for your arrest. Any bail posted would be forfeited and lost. You then face a new felony charge known as bail jumping, and your case could proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand? Counsel, please take a moment to review that with your client and have him execute the same.
Your Honor, just for the court's notice here, there appears to be a typo here in this Parker warning. It indicates that sir is the third, David James Kingsley the third. He is not the third.
Can amend that then, thank you. For the record, the defendant has executed the written Parker warning here in court. The matter is now adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. I will have you back then, Mr. Kingsley. He's all set, thank you.
So yes, that is Sean from Long Island Audit in the front seat there. He's in the front row right here. I mean, this is unbelievable. They're all getting the same thing. $100,000 cash bail. That's 10%. These people all have every right to be agitated, upset, and everything, all of the above. This is, again, a travesty of justice. I'm just glad that Sean is there getting video right up front.
Thank you for waiting, Mr. Passalacqua.
Absolutely, Your Honor.
And you'd have no objection to the media? Yes. Very good, thank you.
Why hasn't any of the sergeants been brought in? Why hasn't any of the sergeants been brought in? Where's their fucking charges? Where's the sergeants' charges? Where's the sergeants who just sat there and watched it all happen?
This is the matter of the people against David Walters, indicted 25035 on for arraignment today. Mr. Passalacqua, do I understand correctly you've been retained to represent David Walters?
Yes, Your Honor, on behalf of Passalacqua Associates, we do have been retained to represent Mr. Walters.
Thank you. That's your name, sir, David Walters?
That's correct, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Walters?
36.
Mr. Walters, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You have to be arraigned upon that. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Walters, in indictment 2025-35, And an Oneida County grand jury has charged you in the 6th count of said indictment with the crime of manslaughter in the 2nd degree. Mr. Pesalacqua, I'd ask if you waive a formal reading of saying, I will. I'm going to hand the best counsel a copy of that redacted indictment along with our standard pretrial notices as well as a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Walters to law enforcement. I would not proceed on it.
Now, your formal proceedings enter into plea of not guilty to all charges at this time.
Very good. A not guilty plea is then entered on the defendant's behalf. The matter will be adjourned for a pretrial conference to March 31st at 9:30 a.m., at which time, if necessary, I will also set a motion schedule. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, your thoughts on bail?
I would ask that bail be set consistent with that set on Mr. Fisher, and that if Mr. Walters has a passport, he surrender it to his attorney, and his attorney notify the court and the special prosecutor of same.
Pesalacqua, does your client have a passport?
He does not, Your Honor.
All right.
$25K.
Yes, Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider setting bail lower than has been previously set. Mr. Walters has been a lifelong resident of the area, so does not have a passport, does not recall the last time if he ever left the country at all. He's retained my office. He's been in constant contact with us. We've maintained constant contact with Mr. Fitzpatrick's office throughout these proceedings and leading up to today's arraignment. He poses zero flight risk, and I would ask the court to consider those factors in setting bail.
Thank you. The court's considered the statutory factors as well as the position of counsel here this afternoon, noting that if convicted of the sole count the defendant faces under this indictment, he could face 5 to 15 years in a state prison facility. Bail is set in the following amounts. That is $50,000 cash, $100,000 insurance company bail bond, or $500,000 partially secured surety bond with a minimum of 10% deposit. Mr. Walters, if you post bail while these charges are pending, you do have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in your case. But if you did not come back to court, then a warrant would be issued for your arrest. Any bail posted would be forfeited and lost, and you would then face a new felony charge known as bail jumping. Your case could proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence, and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand? There's a written document to that effect. I'll let you take a moment to review that with your attorney.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So essentially, we watched Robert Brooks murdered on video. These guys didn't know the video was playing or recording. We watched it on video, and they're all being afforded bail. This is fucked. And I don't even know other way to I don't know any other way to describe it.
The court is now in receipt of the same. The matter is adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference, and I will have you back then, Mr. Walters. Thank you. Thank you.
Who's going to watch all these thugs, these murdering thugs, and make sure that they come back on March 31st? Answer me that. Who is going to watch all of these thugs and make sure that they come back on March 31st? Nobody. This is travesty of justice. Again, Sean from Long Island Audit, right in there. Thank you, Steph, for becoming a member. Appreciate you. I believe they said there was 9 and count. It was a 9 indictments. So this.
Mr. Capezza, I have a number of requests from the news media to cover today's proceedings. Any objection? The court will permit the same. This is a matter of the people against Michael Mashaw, indictment 25035, on for arraignment today. And it is Thomas Capezza, correct, counsel?
Thomas Capezza, Your Honor.
All right.
On behalf of Michael Mashaw.
This is a sergeant.
Oh, please. You've been retained to represent Michael Mashaw?
Yes, Your Honor.
And sir, that's your name, Michael Mashaw?
Yes, sir.
How old are you, Mr. Mashaw?
47, sir.
Mr. Mashaw, you're here today because the grand jury of Oneida County. Out, please.
This is the first sergeant that's being arraigned, Michael
You're here today,
Mashaw.
Mr. Mashaw, because the grand jury of Oneida County returned an indictment against you. You have to be arraigned upon that. And Mr. Fitzpatrick, you may arraign.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Mashaw, indictment 2025-35. You've been charged by the Oneida County grand jury in count 4 with the crime of manslaughter in the second degree.
Bullshit.
I ask if you waive a formal reading of said indictment.
Waive a public reading and to plead of not guilty.
At this time, Your Honor, I'm going to hand Mr. Capezza a redacted copy of that indictment missing one name, along with our standard pretrial notices, along with a disc containing statements allegedly made by Mr. Mashaw, and ask if you acknowledge receipt of those.
Acknowledge receipt.
This is a sergeant.
Did I hear correctly? Did you enter a plea?
Excuse me, Your Honor?
You entered a plea. Did I hear you right?
Yes.
All right. A plea of not guilty entered on the defendant's behalf. This matter will be adjourned to March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference and a setting of a motion schedule. Mr. Fitzpatrick, your thoughts on bail, sir?
Your Honor, I would ask that bail be set consistent with that set by Mr. Fisher and Mr. Walters, and that Mr. Mashaw, if he has a passport, surrender same to Mr. Capezza, and that Mr. Capezza notify the court, special prosecutor, when that is done.
Your Honor, we will turn over the passport.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That'll be a condition of any bail set here today. Your thoughts on bail, Mr. Capezza?
Your Honor, we consent to the bail and Mr. Bernardo will provide.
All right, the court's considered the arguments of counsel here this morning, as well as the statutory factors, and bail has been set in the following amounts: $50,000 cash, $100,000 insurance company bail bond, or $500,000 partially secured surety bond with a minimum 10% deposit. You have the bond paperwork. I'll take a look at that, Mr. Bernardo.
So a sergeant who stood by and let his correction officers beat the life out of Robert Brooks gets charged with manslaughter in the first degree. That is, again, another horrific miscarriage of justice.
All right, before the court now is Bondsman J. Bernardo. Mr. Bernardo, you swear to the truth of the content of your bail undertaking and affidavit. Is that correct? Thank you. Could you get his signature, please?
And we're hearing outside in the hallway the chants of no justice, no peace.
Thank you. Mr. Mashaw, I have before me a proposed bail bond in the amount of $100,000. I understand you're asking to be released on this. Is that correct? You understand what your number one obligation is under this bond? What's that? And on any other dates you're required to be in court. You have a right to be present at all stages of proceedings in this case, but if you did not come back to court when required, then a warrant would be issued for your arrest. Any bail you posted, even by way of this bond, that would be forfeited and lost. And you would then face a new felony charge known as bail jumping, and the case could proceed in your absence, meaning you could be tried in your absence, and if convicted, sentenced in your absence as well. You understand that? I've received a written document to that effect entitled Parker Warning. Confirm for me to sign that document here in court after you reviewed it with your attorney. That's it. All right, you'll be released on that bond today. You're due back in this court on March 31st at 9:30 a.m. for a pretrial conference.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That is all. Thank you.
I just want to point out quickly that Robert Brooks' son is in the back row. As we see him exit, I want to point them out. Directly behind the defendant here, let me just lower this. Directly behind the defendant is Robert Brooks Jr., his brother Jared Ricks, and the attorneys that are representing the family in that first row. I haven't seen Robert Brooks' father. He may be in the back row, but in the front row, directly behind where Sergeant Mashaw, former Sergeant Mashaw is, you'll see Robert Brooks Jr., his brother Jared Ricks, and their attorneys who are representing them in their civil rights lawsuits, the state and federal lawsuits that they filed against the state of New York. But this is going to cause major community unrest. There is no question in my mind that there is going to be community unrest behind this.
Not right back. They all go to hell. I'm trying to justify that. Please help them. Please help them very much. Thank you. Because about like thank you.
So far we've seen 9 people arraigned, and I believe that this is it. All right, it looks like court is in recess. 9 people. Again, a travesty of justice in my book. I know that all of you guys have stuck it out here with me for an hour and 20 minutes. I want to thank you all for being here. Tonight at 9 p.m., I'm going to break this down with a criminal defense attorney. We're going to talk about this tonight. I'm going to have J.B. Nicholas from the Upstate News on with me, and I'm also going to have Ricardo Moore join us tonight for our thoughts as it pertains to this kangaroo court. This is the best that I could describe it. It's a kangaroo court. What we just witnessed here is a kangaroo court. It's just despicable on all levels. I just want to go and see if there's any news coverage outside of this on the outside. I want to see if there's any kind of news event that's going on, if anyone's covering this. Okay, there's News 12 Albany. I just want to see if they go to a live feed outside the courthouse, because there has to be protests out there out in front. So let me know what you think in the chat here, in the live chat. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. What we saw here today was, again, a travesty of justice. I have it all written down. Total of 9 indictments. Anzalone, charged with murder in the 2nd degree. Their all return dates are March 31st for pre-trial. Former Officer Finina, same thing, murder in the 2nd degree. They all pled not guilty. David Walters, manslaughter in the 2nd degree, which is a felony. They were all granted bail, very low bail. Gallagher, murder 2nd degree, bail, same thing, $100,000 cash surety. Christopher Wallrath, murder 2nd degree. They all pled not guilty. Michael Fisher was charged with murder and in the 2nd degree. Nicholas Gentile, tampering with physical evidence. He was the only one that was released without bail. He was released on his own recognizance because there's no bail. It's not a bail eligible crime, tampering with physical evidence. And I would like to hear the details of that. We're going to get the court documents on this. David Kingsley, murder in the 2nd degree and manslaughter 2nd degree. He was granted a public defender. And Sergeant Michael Mashaw, manslaughter 1st degree, which is a felony, but it only is punishable by 5 to 15 years in prison. My question is what about the 2nd sergeant that was in that room? There was 2 sergeants, one on each side. What about the 2nd sergeant? How come he wasn't arraigned? Why wasn't there anything for that 2nd sergeant? That's what's confusing to me. I'm going to another site real quick. Let's just see if there's anything going on outside of the courthouse. So I want to see. And now we have correction officers across New York State on strike, which to me is another slap in the face to everybody and anybody, right? Correction officers now going out on strike. It's convenient that they're doing that, given the light that they're all of these indictments were coming down. They all knew it, and then they went on strike on Monday, on President's Day. That's a whole nother story. All right, guys, I want to say thank you for being here. Justice for Robert Brooks. We did not see justice. The family got another gut punch. The family of Robert Brooks, that is Pastor Robert Ricks, got a gut punch. Robert Brooks Jr. got a gut punch. His brother Jared got a gut punch. Eileen, the cousin, and the entire family got a gut punch from the criminal justice system, the state of New York. Shame on Onondaga County District Attorney Fitzpatrick for not asking for more bail and not asking for ankle monitor. How come we didn't hear any of these guys be fitted for an ankle monitor? So they should be confined to their home. They should not be free to go shopping and go out and go to the movies and catch a dinner somewhere. They should be confined to their homes. What happened to the ankle monitor? What happened to higher bail requested by the district attorney? This is all worked out in advance. And to me, it's despicable. I can't even. I got to get back to work. I'll talk to you guys all soon. Thank you for being here. God bless. And we'll see you tonight, 9 o'clock.